We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to everybody that's certainly here in attendance in Atlanta, and to those that are participating via Zoom. Before we get started and take the roll call, certainly want to express gratitude to Georgia Power for helping facilitate meeting space. Certainly appreciate that opportunity on their side. Nia, would you please call the roll, please?
Yes. Amy Jordan. Bart Gobeil. Bill Hightower. Governor Brian Kemp. Candace Brose. Ayana Good.
Present.
Chris Tobiasen.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Wells. Dell Keith. Emily Davidson. Frank Ginn. Chunk Newman. Greg Dozier.
Here.
Keith Clark. James Wilburn. Jay Cunningham.
Jay is here.
Thank
James is here.
you. Keith Brady.
Here.
Thank you. Kelly Brownlow.
Present.
Thank you. Ken Warnock. Lindsay Hill. Lisa Winton.
Sorry, here.
Thank you. Logan Leslie.
Here.
Thank you. Margaret Conrad. Mary Fort.
Here.
Mike Long.
Here.
Trish Ross.
Here.
Randy Beal. Trey Taylor.
Present.
Sam Dasher. Sam McCurchin.
Sam Dasher's here.
Thank you. Sam McCurchin. Thank you. Stuart Countess.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Andrews.
Here.
Thank you. Teresa Fisher.
Here.
Thank you. Gonna go back through. Amy Jordan. Bill Hightower. Governor Brian Kemp. Candace Brose. Chris Wells. Dell Keith. Emily Davidson. Frank Ginn. Chunk Newman. Keith Clark. Ken Warnock.
Here.
Lindsay Hill. Margaret Conrad. Randy Beal. We got it for him.
Hey, well, thank you. In the package of information that was sent out, you have the May 22nd agenda, but you also have the meeting minutes from February 20th. Are there any questions about the agenda or meeting minutes?
Chunk Joseph. Ready.
All right, hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve the agenda and the meeting minutes from February 20th?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion to approve the meeting minutes and the agenda is passed. We'll move into committee reports, and we'll start with the Adult and Dislocated Work Committee. Chairwoman Teresa Fisher will provide the update.
Hey, good morning. Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the Adult and Dislocated Worker Committee met on May 7th. Quorum was met, and one action item, policy 4.4, WIOA eligible training providers and programs list procedures, was presented to our committee, which was passed unanimously. James Thomas, OWD's Director of Compliance, Monitoring and Programs, presented the updates to Policy 4.4 for the committee's consideration. Policy 4.4, WIOA eligible training providers and program list procedures. The first major update specifies that programs with at least 85% of participants belonging to strategic populations may be eligible for a performance measure exemptions upon making a request to OWD. The second update includes a specification that for organizations seeking to register their program within the eligible training provider list, they must be monitored by their respective local workforce development areas. The third update removes section 4.4.6, continued eligibility procedures, due to redundancy created by the previously mentioned updates. And the last update specified that OWD or the appropriate local workforce development areas will be responsible for making eligible training provider removal determinations. Chairman Countess, I know there's an action to vote on this. Do you want to do that at this time before I move forward?
Yes, we can go ahead and do that. Are there any questions for Chairwoman Fisher concerning this policy? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the changes as outlined?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion to approve the updates to policy 4.4 on the eligible training providers and programs is passed. Please continue.
Thank you, Chairman. So we also, during our meeting, we heard from Eric Salazar, OWD's policy coordinator. He presented updates to the WIOA Unified Status State Plan. The first update specifies that the state plan is now the combined state plan due to the addition of Perkins as a TCSG partner. Perkins 5 is a bipartisan measure which disseminates $1.4 billion annually for career and technical education opportunities to eligible participants. Vocal rehabilitation and adult education are now included in the combined state plan. The 15-day public comment period was active until May 16th of 2025. We also heard from John Lyle Moore, OWD's business services specialist. He gave an overview of the recently published workforce implementation guidance letter, PS-24-003, dislocated worker status of displaced federal employees. The guidance letter was developed to assist frontline local workforce development area staff in determining WIOA eligibility status for displaced federal employees as a result of the federal government's effort to reduce its size. The guidance details how a temporarily or permanently displaced federal employee may be deemed eligible for WIOA services through the unlikely to return determination and the subsequent eligibility documentation requirements. Carol Kofer, WorkSource Northwest Georgia's director, gave us a preview of their mobile unit's Career Arcade. The Career Arcade is an extension of WorkSource Northeast Georgia's already existing mobile unit, which is used to give students a hands-on experience of healthcare and manufacturing positions. New additions under the Career Arcade brand include robotic arm kits, welding simulations, health science compact labs, and 3D printers. Paul Workman, OWD's business programs manager, gave an overview of the recent 2025 business services team meeting, which took place at Central Georgia Technical College. All teams under Brandon Ona, including rapid response business services, customized recruitment, were convened for 3 days of collaboration at Central Georgia Technical College. And this opportunity allowed all team members to formally meet face-to-face and share their experiences by better aligning their workforce development goals. And so that concluded our meeting, and I turn it back over to you, Chairman Countess. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Chairwoman Fisher? Okay, thank you for your work. We'll move
Thank
on
you.
now to the Youth Committee and Chairwoman Dr. Andrews.
Thank you. The Youth Committee met on Tuesday, May the 6th, 2025. We did have a quorum, and the meeting's agenda and previous meeting minutes were unanimously approved. We had no policy action items presented at our meeting that would need to come forward to this meeting. We did hear from Melody Pierce, who is Executive Director of WorkSource Southwest Georgia. She presented on an activity called Real Skills Day, which is an event focused on equipping in-school youth with essential employability and life skills. The event was a collaborative effort among WorkSource Southwest Georgia, Great Promise Partnership, LifeLink of Georgia, and Albany Technical College. And the partners exposed the youth to various career pathways and provided hands-on learning activities. Students participated in sessions on career pathways, including the military, healthcare, cosmetology, agriculture, and received financial aid and college planning guidance. Eric Salazar, the policy coordinator with OWD, provided an overview of updates to the state plan. He explained that the state plan is updated every 4 years with a required 2-year review. The 2025 update transitions Georgia from a unified to a combined state plan, now including Perkins, which supports career, technical, and education programs. Minor updates were also made to the vocational rehab and adult education sections. The plan was posted for public comments, which ended on May the 6th. And no changes are required for local plans at this time, and you'll hear more about that later on in our meeting. And that concludes our report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? All right, hearing none, thank you. Finance and Performance, Chairman Dr. Wilbur.
Good morning, everyone. The Finance and Performance Committee, we did have a meeting on May 6th at 1:15 p.m. Unfortunately, we did not meet quorum. Executive Director Kristen Larhoven will give us go over 3 action items, which includes the budget, rapid response set aside, and first year recapture. Kristen, do you want to do that now or wait till I'm finished with the rest of the report?
Can she go after your report?
Yep, no problem at all. No problem at all. So we've already heard a summary about the state plan update, so I won't repeat it, but we will hear from Eric Salazar later today with a detailed state plan update. Lastly, Executive Director Stephen Wilson spoke on the Q3 PY24 performance results, which was submitted to ETA a couple of weeks ago. Overall, if you take the percentage goals for all 5 measures for adults, we're at 106.5%. We're at 113.4% for dislocated workers and 107.7% for youth. The threshold for a program as a whole is 90%, and as long as we're 50% for any individual measure, we are meeting our goals. So overall, good numbers for us. Historically, the fourth quarter is the strongest quarter that displays higher numbers for credential attainment, which coincides with the end of most training programs. Although we're just below our goal for credential attainment for all three programs, we should show better numbers next quarter. Lastly, Wagner Pfizer does not have training, so there isn't credential attainment or skills gain measures. Wagner Pfizer only has employment-related measures, and for all three, we are exceeding the negotiated goals with an overall performance score of 107.9%. So we're in great shape. If there's no additional questions, I'll go ahead and turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman, and Kristen for an update.
Okay, any questions to Dr. Wilbur prior to turning it over to Kristen?
Thank you. So our good old trusty chart, I don't need to go through this with you guys, you'll see them multiple times. But just as a reminder, we are a subrecipient of the U.S. Department of Labor, and then work with local workforce development areas as our subrecipients for Title I funding. So for our first action item, again, as a reminder, we received Title I funding and retain 15% of each of our sectors. So adult, dislocated work for the administration, auditing of funds, and maintaining our case management system. For rapid response dollars, we can retain an additional 25% of dislocated worker dollars. However, that is a choice of the board. So we have taken the stance that traditionally we try to keep that set aside as small as possible because whatever dollars we do not keep for the administration of the rapid response program goes back out to our local areas in the form of dislocated worker dollars, which can then be transferred into adult, which is very necessary pot of funding. So last year we were able to keep that set aside at 5%. Again, we're going to try to do our best to keep it as low as possible, but this year we have seen an uptick in any layoff activity, especially in the first quarter here. And we are going to see a cut in our dislocated worker dollars, which is a slide I'll bring up later. So we are recommending to the committee a set aside of 12%. If that funding is not all spent, I'll explain in future slides how that will eventually make its way back to local areas. But that is our recommendation at this time. I'll go through all of them if we're okay. Put it on. So our second action item has to do with first year recapture. We get our funding for 3 years, local areas get it for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, they have to completely spend, not just obligate, but completely spend down any funding that they have. Anything that is not spent comes to us for its third year. We have the option of also making sure that they obligate up to 80% of their funds after the first year. Just based on the timing, we've gotten our grants pretty late in the year, and then just also the way that some local areas work with their contracts. We don't find that 80% threshold to be very helpful. Local areas are doing a good job in completely spending by the end of the second year. And when we're continuing to see money coming in a little late, it's actually prudent for them to kind of hold those funds to get them through the summer, sometimes even into the fall. So again, this year we are recommending that we not recapture first year funding and let it all go into second year. Just a little bit of a reminder, the federal funding history before we get into our Title I budget.
Kristen, can I ask a quick question on that? I would ask the team to think about if there's a level of unspent that we would definitely go out and work with the local areas.
Sure.
Obviously, 80% is way too high based on what you described, but
Sure.
we need to internally figure out a level where we need to at least be out and make sure there's plans and understanding why they're not spending it. If they only spent 30%, there may be a concern there.
Yes, sir. During the summer, we go through a budgeting process with the local areas. And we are at the end of that actually comparing to actuals. And so we have a little bit of visibility there. In terms of spend rate and what that looks like as opposed to budgeted totals, sometimes that picture can be a little fuzzy just because of the way that fiscal agents draw down those funds. But as we get into July, that's a little more clear and we're able to see that. And that is because, we're not all on the same accounting system. So the visibility we have into actual spend down rates has to do with drawdowns. We do have some local areas, and we'll get into this too when we talk about some of the upcoming changes to PMS that draw down just about every week. We have other local areas who they might do 3 drawdowns from us a year. So it's a little weird with what we can and can't see until the true end of a fiscal year. So with federal funding history, just again, we've talked about this again and several times, but from PY18, costs anywhere from 34 to almost 40% of the funding in the grants. We just got actual totals for this year. And thankfully aren't going to see a huge change in federal funding, but are looking at another 10% of dislocated worker grants. So reason for raising rapid response set aside. Yeah. In your packets, we have budgets, which I'll go over with you. Again, this budget represents adult, youth, dislocated worker, rapid response, and then our apprenticeship funding. So you will not see Title III and some of those other JVSG FLC on this budget because that's not approved by the board. So we'll go through just in general. This budget is about $9.6 million in spending. We were able to cut about $1 million in spending on budgeted amounts from last year. The first sections in class 300, salaries and benefits. Pretty comparable to last year. 301 gets into problem. Again, very comparable to last year. 305 is IT equipment, and then also PeopleSoft fees. PeopleSoft is the state accounting system. We expect some changes here because, again, in future slides, I'll outline we're as a state moving to the Workday system. Not quite sure what the agency breakdown for fees for that is. And then, of course, as TCSG kind of negotiates their rates, ours is a subsect of that. So really not sure what to put in there as a placeholder, but we do anticipate that it's likely going to go up. Cell phones, 7 category, 3 cell phone category, and then 12 is our contracting category. These are contracts that you recognized from last year. We continue to add to our suite of GeoSolutions contracts, and GeoSolutions is our statewide vendor for case management. So we've added to that, but also the programs that are not encapsulated in this budget are continuing to take on more of a share of that. And we have also had partnerships with Georgia Department of Labor, potentially vocational rehabilitation in the future that will potentially add more to that suite of services, which is all a good thing. The more data we can get in one place, the better for case managers, data reporting, all of that good stuff. And then finally, our last category, in 315, those are subrecipient contracts that go out. And the first one is for rapid response services to the Georgia Department of Labor. We work with them to have unemployment insurance services and some of the other things that they provide through trade available at all of our rapid response events. They then get to bill back for that staff time. And then as a state, we have always tried to pass through a portion of rapid response funding to local areas in order for them to bill direct staff time, just again, so that we have that staff support in the local areas. We start out with a certain amount and then retain some back at the state level if local areas see a higher than expected amount of rapid response activity. They're able to come back and we can even out those allocations. So the very bottom line is the anticipated amount that we will bring in. And then the line above it is the anticipated totals that we will spend in terms of budgeted activity. Again, we budget based on first year funding, even though we get funding for 3 years. Anything that we don't spend that goes into second or third year, we use it for local areas and let them request additional funding so that that can come in pass through. Any questions on budget?
The question. So given the really sharp decline in what we've seen on the sort of funding perspective, are we seeing more local areas asking for that additional, and what percentage? 50% of them, 60%?
So they're very aware of what that budget looks like. And so we are also very transparent with what these are to our local areas. And so I think that they know that in terms of their asks, and we give them that information ahead of the time of year where they are making that ask. So I don't know that that kind of percentage of increased ask is a good way to measure that. We've always budgeted a good bit below what our actual, the funding that we've taken in. And because of that, we've been able to traditionally send a lot of money back out to the local areas. And I think that's kind of acted as a stopgap and also with some COVID funds and other disaster DWGs. So even though local areas have seen this like continued trend of reduced funding, state funds, COVID funds, disaster funds have kind of acted as a stopgap from some local areas seeing huge drops. As we get closer to budgeting for actual amounts that are coming in, and we're seeing less disaster funds coming in, obviously the COVID funds are now completely gone. We're going to see local areas start to really feel their decreased allocations. So yes, it becomes a very much more strategic process in deciding who gets what. And
It's very helpful. Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
All right, so we have 3 action items then. Both on all 3. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, there are 3 action items as outlined. Is there a motion to approve all 3 actions stated?
This is James Wilburn. Motion to approve all 3 items as discussed.
Okay.
Lisa Winton, second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed with
Aye.
no? All right, hearing none, the motion to approve all 3 action items as it relates to the Title I budget first year funding recapture and rapid response.
You have just one more slide. It's not an action item, but just considerations that we want you to be aware of. So 2 big changes coming in the financial landscape that have kind of more of a trickle down effect than you would think. So again, we are switching our systems to Workday. Very excited long-term about what this transition is going to mean. The budget that we present next year is going to look completely different because the naming conventions, codes, all of that's changing. I, for one, am very excited about it. However, this year there is likely going to be a decent amount of pain getting to that. Any data transition is difficult, but a financial data transition where you're up against so many deadlines for state reporting, federal reporting, all of that stuff, it's just a hard process. It's supposed to go live in October, and in anticipation of that, there will be a formal down period between September 18th and September 30th. It should come back online in October. Should. But of course, you have to anticipate potential delays with data systems like that. So just something to keep in mind, because this is typically the time period where we are getting grant awards out to local areas and they are returning them back to us, and then they're trying to draw on funds. A lot of them after not having the ability to draw all summer because the grant awards were likely 2 to 3 to 4 months late coming back from USDOL. So just something to keep our eyes on. We don't necessarily have a solution to it, but we're trying to overly communicate with our local areas and fiscal agents. And this could potentially be something that we're dealing with. Also, USDOL in our payment management or PMS system has implemented a 3-step approval process. Used to, we set our requests up. It was in our bank account the next day. We were able to then turn around and get it in local area bank accounts the day after. We do drawdowns weekly, except for during major holidays, and that's kind of what they have come to expect. Again, like what I said earlier with the commissioner's question, a lot of our larger fiscal agents, like the City of Atlanta, Atlanta Regional Commission, City of Savannah, they're able to float those local areas to a certain extent, and so they might do drawdowns 2 to 3 times a year, maybe 4. Some of our local areas that are attached to smaller fiscal agents, and we're talking like really small. One of them is the City of Oakland. And even some regional commissions that just have much smaller budgets, they're not able to float that type of cash. And so when they're doing drawdowns for us, it's to meet payroll. So with this new 3-step process, 2 of those steps is an actual human approving. And if you think about human approving this process that's taking place every day over and over and over again, we just anticipate some pretty sharp delays in being able to get funding down. People go on vacation. It just becomes an issue. So we've anticipated a 5-day turnaround, but again, that's not guaranteed. Again, we don't really have a solution here, but we're trying to overly communicate with our fiscal agents to let them know that this is going. We don't really have a lot of control over it, but it's going to be the reality. So we say all this just, we're talking about sustained funding cuts that have nothing to do with the new budget, a potential new budget that's going to increase potentially the funding cuts and also maybe really impact the way that we do business, whether that's in the form of sequestration or block grants and everything that comes behind that. PMS changes that really will affect the way that fiscal agents receive funding for us. Just kind of paints a picture of a lot of changes and just harder times and the at least next year to 2. We're also kind of looking at a lot of local area directors who have been with us for a long time retiring, some finance directors retiring, and potential smaller fiscal agents looking at this and saying, can we continue to be a fiscal agent if the funding flow isn't necessarily guaranteed to a certain amount? So Not to be the bearer of bad news, and we don't have a lot of recommendations at this time, but we did just want to kind of make you aware of the financial landscape at this point.
Hang on for a ride. Most of many of the rides.
But it's all relative, right? Dr. Good could get up and paint a bleaker picture than I can.
That I can.
Keith is drafting an email right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
All right, happier presentation.
Okay, so moving forward, we'll go into the apprenticeship committee. Chairman Tobias.
The committee met on Monday, May 25th. We did have quorum. We approved our agenda and our previous minutes. We did not have any action items, but we did get a lot of different updates from all the different things happening across the state. Danny Mitchell is the apprenticeship program manager. He provided us an update on the Apprentice Georgia program development activities, which included engaging employers like the Atlanta Beltline and developing apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships focused on healthcare, manufacturing, and horticulture. Partnered with the US DOL to expand registered apprenticeship programs in mechatronics and industrial maintenance. Scheduled a presentation with the Southeast Nonprofit Housing Agency. It's going to be May 14th. So I guess that's happened just a few days ago to support apprenticeships in agricultural and manufacturing. And they were collaborating with the Piedmont Hospital and Technical College to develop nursing and physical therapy aid apprenticeships. They participated in Clayton County Resource Fair, where they were connecting with high school students with technical colleges and employers. And they secured BlackRock Foundation funding support registered and pre-apprenticeships in Northwest Georgia, including training and supportive services.
Yeah.
And President Dennis, which is the apprenticeship grants and operations manager, provided an apprenticeship navigator update. Georgia Mountains region is seeing growth in manufacturing apprenticeships due to the creative outreach and support from Workforce Strategies Group. The outreach includes newsletters, social media, and 15-minute employer-focused webinars. They've had over 100 participants to date. Fulton County hosted a Making Apprenticeships Work event. Duracell expressed interest in machining and mechanical apprenticeships. Middle Georgia submitted its first EMS apprenticeship application for Monroe County, which was a regional training hub, an expansion plan to Baldwin and Putnam counties. Then they're also having ongoing meetings with local areas to gather updates and strengthen employer engagements. And Tyrese Eccles, the apprenticeship partnerships and outreach coordinator, gave us an update on the training and events. They delivered regional rapids training for technical colleges in Athens Tech in January, and South Georgia Tech in March, and Savannah Tech is coming up in June. And they have upcoming apprenticeship accelerator at Southern Crescent Technical College in Henry campus. It's focusing on advanced manufacturing and healthcare. And then they have regular statewide peer group meetings with apprenticeship coordinators to share best practices and foster collaboration. And their next session is going to be in September. So that concludes the committee's update.
Any questions? Thank you. Leadership. So we'll move now into the executive committee. Eric's going to provide some comments and information about the combined state plan. So, Eric?
Morning, everyone. Hope this will be my last presentation. I know I've been around, so. My name is Eric Gaona. I serve as the policy coordinator for the Office of Workforce Development on the Programs and Compliance team. And today I'll be giving an overview of the WIOA Perkins 5 Combined State Plan. So just a quick refresher, WIOA was signed in 2014 as a primary workforce development legislation. It's designed to address the needs of dislocated workers, adults, and youth, and it has as its primary goals to help job seekers access training, supportive services, education, but also to help employers hire and retain skilled workers. And perhaps more important for this presentation is to promote a stronger alignment across education, workforce, and vocational rehabilitation systems. So we are structured into 5 titles, and each title represents a critical piece of the workforce development system. And the topic for today's presentation is the combined state plan. Under WIA, the governor of each state is required to submit a unified or combined state plan that includes a 4-year strategy for the state's workforce development system. So this includes the state's vision, strategy, and how it plans to accomplish these goals. And after 2 years, we have to give an update. So it's every 4 years with an update in between. And in previous cycles, we have submitted a unified state plan. And the unified state plan includes all of the core programs, that is Title 1 through 4, so adult, dislocated worker, youth, adult education, Wagner-Pfizer, and vocational rehabilitation. So we've been submitting a unified state plan. But this year we are submitting a combined state plan. And the combined state plan includes everything that the unified state plan does, plus an additional partner. And the partner can be any of those listed. And the partner for this program is, for this year is Perkins 5. And I'll go a little bit more in detail why Perkins 5. And I know that we have a presentation very soon on the Top State for Talent Initiative, but it's also very important for why we are submitting this combined state plan. The Top State for Talent Initiative is a cross-agency effort to align education and workforce development and to guide the students and other individuals into high-demand careers. So under this Top State for Talent Initiative, Governor Kemp ordered TCSG, OWD, and also the Georgia Department of Education, the Career Technical and Agricultural Division, to work together to create this WIA Perkins 5 combined state plan to support the state's workforce and education goals. And the Top State for Talent Initiative has already produced some major accomplishments. Some of the ones that you all are probably familiar with is the Georgia Match. The Georgia Match, students basically get a letter saying these are the institutions that you're eligible for admission. And the goal is to improve post-secondary enrollment. And of course, the High Demand Career List, which was established through HB 982, which requires the creation and annual publication of the High Demand Career List. And as part of this initiative, and a future goal for the governor's workforce strategy team is to continue to align pathways in high demand careers, expand the Georgia Match program, but also to integrate this Perkins 5 and WIA through this combined state plan. And I want to discuss a little bit more about Perkins 5 as a partner. Perkins 5, it's the largest federal funding source for secondary and post-secondary CTE programs, or career technical education programs. In the state of Georgia, is CTE, to include agriculture as well. So these programs equip students with skills to prepare them for high-in-demand careers. So that is academic, career, and employability skills to lead these individuals into high-demand careers and to meet employment needs across the state. And Perkins 5 is also one of WIA required partners. So it's a great partnership, and there's a great opportunity here. And some of the benefits that will continue to come out of this partnership is this education to workforce pipeline to support state and regional employment needs, but also to include the quality of our programs, whether that is at the secondary, post-secondary, but also training programs. And lastly, to guide individuals into high-demand careers that align with industry needs. So it's a very great partnership that we have in our hands. So now that we discussed why we're taking this combined approach, I wanted to talk a little bit bit more about the process that we undertook to submit this plan. And if we don't submit this plan, we don't get money. So we have to. That's the primary reason. But yes, the federal government, that is the Department of Labor Education, require us to have a approved state plan in order to receive funding under the 6 core programs, and that is Title I, of the programs within that. We have to submit every 4 years with an update every 2 years, and we submit to the U.S. Department of Labor and Education. And once we submit, they issue a joint response, whether telling us whether the plan was approved or not. So it's a very comprehensive document, and I want to discuss what's actually included in it. So it includes a lot of information regarding strategic and operational planning elements. So this is labor market information for the entire state, workforce analysis, strategic goals that we have for the state, how we're coordinating across programs with other agencies as well, and how we plan to implement all of these programs. But also very specific information to each one of the core programs, that is the adult, dislocated youth, Wagner-Pfizer, and vocational rehabilitation programs. And lastly, also information on our partner program, which is Perkins 5. And this was truly a collaborative effort across agencies, programs, and many individuals. So I'm happy to say that we have submitted a plan. So, but it was truly a collaborative effort. So thank you all that were involved. And we first began by developing a draft of this program, of this state plan. The draft was developed by WIOA core representatives, that is Title I through 4, but also by Perkins 5 staff at the Georgia Department of Education with their CTA division. After we developed the draft, we presented the draft to the executive committee. The executive committee reviewed the draft. They provided feedback and approved the draft in order for us to post it for public comment. The draft was up on our TCSG website for 15 days, and that 15 days ended on May 6th. We did not receive any additional updates or, any additional comments, so we didn't have to revise the plan. We then brought it back to the executive committee for final approval before we submitted to our federal partners. So we have received that approval, and we submitted the plan on May 9th. And so following that, the plan now enters the 90-day federal review window. So during these 90 days, the U.S. Department of Labor or the U.S. Department of Education may come back to us and request additional revisions. So if they request additional revisions, we make those updates, those changes, and we submit it again. But if no revisions are requested within those 90 days, then the plan is considered approved. And lastly, next year we have the 2-year update, and during this 2-year update, the local areas will be required to update their plans. But at this moment, for this year, they do not have to worry about that. That will happen next year. And that is all I have. Thank you all for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions.
I do want to make one comment. There is one missing component here, and part of this is just because Eric's work was largely with the DOE partners and the individuals who play that part in submitting their part of the plan. But TCSG is a partner in Perkins, so 50% of the Perkins funding comes to TCSG, 50% goes to the Department of Education. And so on the tech ed side of the house, they were deeply engaged in the plan development and the planning process there. And it was actually, though, it's upon the Department of Education staff and partners, Dr. Barbara Wall, to actually do the plan submission. And that's who Eric was most directly engaged with, that team, through the submission process. So that's the only reason why that's there. But I just did want to make it clear that TCSG is a partner in the Perkins process as well.
If you are asked by Department of Labor or Department of Education to make some revisions, does the 90-day window start again? Or is it you have 90 days to find out if you're approved or not?
That's a very good question. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So at that point, they've engaged with you in the 90-day. 90 days is essentially if you receive no engagement, no word back from them, then that
I
time.
know that's not typical though for you to receive no engagement, right?
We've never had it happen before, no.
It's good.
Yeah.
Hasn't been my experience.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Good morning. I won't take a lot of your time. I just have a few high-level updates. As you can see, it's the team that's doing all of the heavy lifting and all of the hard work, and they're doing a great job. Couple of things I did want to mention in terms of staffing changes. Andrea Diaz, who many of you are probably familiar with, she's been with Office of Workforce Development for a long, long time as our digital content specialist, works right alongside Tyler, comes to all of our meetings and events and does a lot of filming and so forth. Well, she got stolen. But she's still with TCSG as a whole. She's right upstairs working under Mark D'Alessio, who's our Executive Director of Communications. We're happy she's still within the agency. She's got a new great opportunity, but we're sorry that she won't be with us. That said, we've also hired and brought on board a new Director of Training, and that is Jonathan Leslie. He's here. We have such a large employee group and some pretty significant training needs that are unique to the work that we do. And so Jonathan's role will be to help lead and develop that training for our staff, and also to provide better support for our local workforce development areas as all these federal changes continue. It's kind of an ongoing thing, and new guidance comes down the pike. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. A couple things we mentioned that DOAA is conducting an audit of the workforce development system in Georgia. Just kind of an overview. It does not. They decided they would not include, adult education within that audit, but all of our programs, some of Georgia Department of Labor's work, vocational rehabilitation, and I believe SNAP ENT are all encompassed within that audit. We mentioned it to you at the last meeting. You may hear from them regarding a desire to interview you. If we are notified by them and made aware that that's going to happen, certainly we will be reaching out to you to help with that. We'll be providing just some general information to ensure that should you get called by them, that you're comfortable in speaking with them. Just some general overview kind of stuff but you may not be able to call right off the top of your head, sort of cheat sheets, if you will, I guess, but just as refresher, so you feel comfortable and confident. They've been periodically requesting data or financial information, and it's a flurry of activity, and then we don't hear anything for a little while they examine that. Again, this is supposed to conclude, and we should receive the final report it should be published in October. We should see we should have an opportunity to review that report, probably, I'm guessing, late September, if they're on time, and then we'll make our comments back to them, and then the report will be published, or the audit will be published come October. That's the plan right now. So I just wanted to keep that fresh on your mind. ETA, it seems to be audit monitoring season for us. ETA has notified us in the last week and a half that we're going to undergo a desk review monitoring of our WIO formula funds and the Dislocated Worker Disaster Recovery Grant. The Debbie grant, Hurricane Debbie, the grant that we received for that. That'll start in June. We have to deliver some documents to them, and then we'll have a meeting with them later in June, and that will be ongoing until they're done. We also had a requested monitoring of our foreign labor certification program, and I say requested, they reached out and said, we're going to monitor you. And I said, okay, but those dates don't work for us because the dates they had requested fell within that window that Kristen was telling you about in terms of the workday transition. So I responded to say, if you want to look at us programmatically, we're happy to do that. Financials, not going to be available. Can we schedule another time? Have yet to hear back from them regarding that. Myself, Kristen, and Damon were able to participate in the TCSG Leadership Retreat. This was sort of all of TCSG leadership were down at Jekyll Island. This was sort of a foundation prep for an agency strategic planning retreat that will happen in July. Along those lines, our team has been engaged in a lot of strategic planning and getting ready for our upcoming year. Everything that we are doing, we're looking to align with the governor's vision and obviously TCSG's mission and vision and so forth. Our individual teams have been meeting. Our business services, they had a summit, they met. Our regional operations managers all came together and met. You should, in August, I hope to have a presentation for you that kind of really fleshes out all of our specific strategic goals. Obviously, these will dovetail with our federal goals, but be much more extensive and incorporate our high demand career and top state for talent initiatives and those sorts of things. In alignment with that, we're working on the development of a data dashboard. Our team continues to work with the governor's workforce and education strategy team on the high demand career list, refinement, and the Top State for Talent initiative. Ian Caraway is here from the governor's office to talk to you a little bit about that, kind of bring you up to date on where we are. In alignment with that, Damon and I are working on the submission of a workforce data quality initiative grant application. Should we receive these funds, they'll be used to help us kind of advance the work that's being done through GOSA. I'm pointing at Jackie Lundberg over here. She's with Georgia Office of Student Achievement. We've been working very closely with her team on the statewide longitudinal data system to incorporate WIOA data into that so that we can better track participant and student outcomes across different workforce development programming and education and training. So to really be able to kind of get a better lens into return on our investment for those sorts of things. So from a high level, that's kind of the things that are going on. And as you can see, the team is busy, and I appreciate your time. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. To provide the update on the governor's top state talent.
Thank you, Chairman Countess, Commissioner Dozier, and everyone for letting me be here today. It is an exciting time to be in workforce development because everybody's talking about it, right? And that is no exception in the governor's office. I want to thank the staff team with the Office of Workforce Development and the larger team at TCSG who have provided all kinds of support, legwork, you name it, to really help push the governor's second term education and workforce initiative, which is Top State for Talent, sort of dovetailing off Top State for Business. You may have heard him say, we're 11 years in a row if you've lost count. But it is such an exciting time and to be in this area. And this board has such a central role in all of this. When I sat down with Commissioner Dozier and Karen and the team 2 years ago, probably, the thought was, well, this board hasn't done a lot of policy work. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news. Some good news, we just legislated some policy work. Maybe the bad news, there's a lot of it. But y'all are now in the thick of it. If you didn't think you were before, you are now. But just to give you kind of a brief history, and it's been discussed a little bit about Top State for Talent. It is a cross-agency working group, the governor's strategy team, and those are the primary agencies. Also, the Office of Plan and Budget. We always have our money keepers in the room so that they can tell us when we're getting just a little too excited. Maybe we're just being a little too visionary for them. But the first part of the initiative was the Georgia Match program, which is our direct to college admissions program, where every high school senior gets a personalized letter with all of the institutions in the state, public institutions, that they are eligible for admission and are ready to help get them enrolled in the process. Our first year, complete year, TCSG had a 9% enrollment bump, partially because of this initiative. And we're really targeting after that first generation student, mom and dad, maybe didn't go to college, or the student didn't think they could get in. And we are trying to bring it literally to them. There is a place for you. We want you to stay in Georgia and get your post-secondary training. And then last year, we adopted our first, you guys adopted our first statewide single high demand career list. And this came from just a lot of industry feedback. Actually, it was Chairman Countess at a roundtable who brought up that there were a lot of lists out there in state government. And as we started looking around, we found 7 high demand lists, mostly the same, some a little different. Some lists definitely had a lobbyist, some that got them on there, and someone definitely got lucky somehow the other way. But there wasn't a whole lot of science or mathematics behind that. And so with the work of TCSG, the Office of Workforce Development, Jackie and the team over at GOSA, and all of our partners came up with the formula that you all eventually approved, that came up with our first statewide unified high demand list that all agencies are using. And it's really exciting to see how agencies across state government have taken that as a guide. We're seeing policy changes in real time over at the Department of Education, down on the local level. We had a region up in Northwest Georgia that they got their regional list and they dove right in, and you had the president of Northwest Georgia Tech, right? Yes, sir. And the president of Dalton State, and all of their school superintendents and all of their chamber presidents get together and talk about how are we going to make sure that we're using this list in our region as we're trying to guide people towards training and recruit jobs. So we're already seeing people utilizing that list so that it's not just another PDF on a state website. People are actually using it to make decisions. And that's so important. It's what we're looking for. And then in development, the team is working on a career navigator tool. I don't have a whole lot of information because it's being developed, but again, it is that cross-agency team that is working very hard to try to come up with more ways to guide students and adults to training options that leads them to where they can find where the jobs are, so that we can continue this growth and prosperity that we're experiencing in our state. So what does that all have to do with y'all? Well, y'all are a big piece of this, and House Bill 192, which was the governor's education and workforce legislation this past session, passed and gave y'all some work to do. And I'm going to just talk briefly about that, of what y'all's role now in this sort of policy area that y'all are going to be responsible for. So the high demand career list, that was passed the year prior, but we cleaned up the language a little bit based on that first experience of running that. And then I keep blaming this on Stuart Countess, but he throws an idea out and we just start going crazy. So he mentioned one time, I'm gonna give you some credit, in a roundtable with the governor, that there was a lack of transparency on what programs, how programs got on this list, and then what happens when they get on the list. They're always on there. What happens when they get on the list and people start making funding decisions based on the list? What happened after all of that? So what House Bill 192 does is every 2 years, you guys are going to approve a return on investment on parts of that high demand list. And the great staff behind you and in the agencies on the strategy team, of course, assisting to see, are we aligned, K-12, higher ed, and industry? Are we getting the graduates we need from this high demand program? We're gonna leave it to y'all and the staff to come up with all of the details. We don't really do that in the governor's office. We just steal other people's ideas and let y'all figure it out. Just kidding. I got 2 commissioners here, so they know. And then on the program alignment report, that was a bill had passed 2 years ago that required a alignment report between the university system and TCSG on articulation. And we thought, this report is really out here in isolation, and it's not really connected to the whole puzzle here. And it's missing a critical partner, and that's K-12. Because it's hard to articulate when the people where the students start is not part of the equation. So House Bill 192 expanded this articulation report to include the Department of Education, but also wove y'all in that you will be the ones who see this report first and who approve this report. And the reason this is being handed in y'all's bucket is y'all are the ones that get to see everything. Y'all are going to see what Commissioner Dozier's got going on. Y'all are going to see more of what Chancellor Perdue's got going on, what Superintendent Woods has going on. Y'all are where it comes together, and y'all are the ones that got to be the ones who can zoom out and say, are we aligned here? We have these goals for job creation, for training. Y'all are the ones that have to zoom out and see all of this that we're all doing and say, are we together? Are we working together? Isn't it fun being that person that gets to zoom out and be like, y'all are not doing what you're supposed to be doing? Well, I got good news. We are doing what we're supposed to be doing. So it's going to be an easy report, right? And then there's some other things in there that Jackie will get into about data and as it relates to the high demand list. But that is in a very high nutshell about the bill. But y'all are important to this initiative, like I just said, because we have boards for most departments. But most departments don't see what other departments are doing. Well, y'all are going to be the ones that get to see the whole picture and are going to be able to guide policy in the state to make sure that we're all working together. Particularly as, the governor is in his last year and a half, we're starting to think about those things, about how do we stay aligned and all of this work that has gone in to make sure that we're working together and we're singing off the same page of music continue. But as has been said on the combined plan that y'all have heard about today, that was hard work. And I don't know that it's been done before, but it certainly was the first for our time. And the way that you had 2 agencies working together, the level of collaboration between the agencies on on the education and workforce side, for people who've been around state government a lot longer than me, will say that this is somewhat unprecedented in the level of we're working together and we have a common goal. And we are glad that y'all accept the phone call to serve on boards like this, that help make sure that we keep going in the right direction. But Commissioner Dozier, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you hit it spot on, and I'll just talk about the articulation. One of the reasons it's important for, in my opinion, this board is we forever at TCSG wanted more articulation with our partners at USG. But we hadn't done any with DOE up until COVID. And so it's really neat to see the work that has been done, to your point, Ian, that things are really moving in the right direction. We now have 22 pathways with CTAE that are articulated for college credit in our system. And we also are at the end of adding 9 additional courses to the statewide articulation between TCSG and USG, along with hopes that we have some 2+2s at the system level that are in the near future. So it's just really important that we have somebody holding all of us accountable. You know, we all get focused on what we want, forget about what others need. So I think this is a great group to come together, focus on workforce as a whole, hold us all accountable to moving forward. And it's exciting where we are, but I think this just positions us to continue to move forward as a true workforce vision. Love it.
Take any questions or?
Sorry, I have a question about the MATCH program. Is that public and private school, and then do kids sign up, or is it just automatic?
So it is only the public institutions. And if you are a senior in a Georgia public or private high school, you get a letter. Basically, if your school submits a transcript to the Department of Education, you get a letter. Not all of our private schools do. Most of them do, though. But the schools, the colleges, I'll say, on your list are only our public institutions.
No, I was asking about if private high school kids get it.
Yes, yep, they do. And it's based on their GPA and any scores they may have on tests they've elected to take.
And Ian, I think it's important, not knocking the nomenclature, but it was presented in 2 different ways today. Both are right. I just like one of them better than the other. It was presented as you can be accepted, and it was presented as you are accepted. And so this is a no need to apply a letter. You're getting it, and it says you're in.
Have a
You just select where you place.
That is really proactive. That's
Yeah.
And I think that's real important when you hear about it in the community, that every college, all 22 of mine, whichever ones you qualify from USG, are on this list, and you're in it. All you got to do is say, I want my spot.
And all of our public institutions participate except for the research level. So Georgia Tech, Georgia State,
Georgia College.
and Georgia College. John,
I think Georgia State's actually in it.
Georgia State is if you're going to perimeter. Yeah,
I have
it's go ahead. It's me.
I have a real life experience that says why that's so important. So when I was superintendent of schools in Muskogee County, we had so many first generation kids going to college. And the parents didn't know about college applications and those kinds of things. So one day at Columbus State University, the admissions office found a daddy standing in the lobby, and he was looking at all of the information there. And he said, I've come to register a child. He didn't know. So the fact that they get a letter that says, you can go here, now that kind of puts them on a more level playing field. And it's really, really important because they don't know how to access.
And I'll take it a step further. I've had the same type of emotional response as I've talked to folks. But the other thing it's pushing us to do is, unlike our partners that have housing and all that. There's a way for students while they're in high school to go ahead and be admitted, meaning they have had to hit a deadline on housing and stuff for a four-year institution. For our two-year colleges, most of the time, we're not having a published calendar until there's a big gap between graduation and time to actually register. This is making us, because they're going out and saying, save my spot at Athens Tech. Well, the problem is they're accepted in and they get something saying that, but there's nothing to take the next step yet. So it's forcing us as a system to get our catalog out there earlier so that they can actually enroll and there's not this gap where we lose students. And it's going to be exciting there.
Another part of the bill this year, every high schooler has to have a college or a high school graduation plan. And Georgia Match is now going to be part of that at the beginning of high school so that they know the better my grades, the more schools are going to be on my list. But also to get them thinking about post-secondary from the beginning of, to go ahead and ingrain that of I'm going to get more training. And I can get that while I'm in high school too, because we have so many good programs through dual enrollment and articulation and that sort of thing.
I'd like to talk to you, Ian, about even before that, because the research indicates that when a child's 10 years old, if you start talking to them about post-secondary education, and a program that we had with CSU where we got fifth graders onto the college campus because they'd never been in, they may have been to a ball game, but they'd never been in a classroom or a lab or the student center. And so I'd like to talk to you about that.
TCSG produced a really good video for our summit last year. And one of the things that sticks out to me is they interviewed a parent who said, I didn't know my kid could go to college. I didn't know they had the grades to go. That is one of the things that has stuck with me about the first year is it was informative for the parents too. That their kid could actually go, and that there's ways to pay for it too.
I think that's a hidden piece.
Yeah.
Because every kid, like the commissioner said, is being told there is a place for you and we want you.
Yeah.
We focus a lot, I get in trouble with USG people, focusing on them. There's a lot of kids who just don't have the infrastructure, societal structures to help them. And they open that letter. When I'm speaking about this around the state, they open that letter. That's a kid who just now had a bright future put before them. But I think the side impact is the parents who are now going to find out what's offered in the state. Through education and jobs that we need to fill. Kudos to the governor and the staff.
And it's the only one in the nation.
Yes.
It is. I mean, when we were trying to do this, there were 5 states who had tried, but none of them have been able to pull off doing their technical community college system and the university system and the K-12 people. I mean, when we go around the country, when people appreciate better than we do because we're just from here and this is just the ecosystem we're in, but when other people tell us about the scale, point out to us the scale of cross work that has had to go into this, we do get kind of proud of ourselves, especially because, some governors just appoint everybody. It's like, no, actually our superintendent's elected, our chancellor's selected by an independent board. Greg's the only one that the governor can fire.
I love him too.
They're just really impressed that we were able to get everybody working together because I won't name the states, but some of them just gave up because they're like, I mean, if only one's going to do it, we're not really able to sustain it. So it's a big deal. And the governor is going to be interviewed, or he's going to be part of the Wall Street Journal's summit. It's called the Future of Everything. The Future of Everything Summit is an annual thing they do. And he's going to be on a panel in New York next week. And he's going to be talking about Georgia Match. and about the high demand list and this board's work. So when we get that podcast, we'll make sure we send it around. I hope he sticks to the talking points. They're great.
Hi.
But, I think there was someone on the line that wanted to.
Yeah. So, Lisa Winton, I just have a quick question. So can you tell me what are the ideas that are floating right now on the continuation of, I think it was mentioned earlier, tapping into students earlier, but what's next for K through 12 in your eyes as far as this plan?
I think we put a big marker down with our combined WIOA Perkins plan of the goal of that plan is that will continue the growth of articulation between technical ed on the higher ed side and on the K-12 side. And you really are seeing on their end an interest in, there are several pilots around the state of implementing CTAE in 5th grade, exposing people to those careers. I forget what county it is, but they have believe it or not, a heavy equipment pilot starting in the 5th grade, and basically it's getting guys to come in dirty and bring in small dump trucks and talk about what they do. But to go ahead and paint the picture, real people do this work. This is what we look like when we do this work, and this is what we get to drive or get to operate every day. To kind of go ahead and build in the mentality of these are careers. I forget what county it is at the moment, but I think this combined plan really sets a marker down and sends a strong, practical message across K-12 and higher ed. We need pathways coming back and forth. So.
I think too, there's a lot of discussion on what y'all voted on or we voted on, the regional high demand, and how does that align with the K-12 CTAE pathways. And so with the combined Perkins plan, there's been a lot of discussion on that, a lot of support on working with our local K-12 on mirroring what's being offered to that high demand.
Well, thank y'all so much, and thank y'all for letting me come and say a few words. We really appreciate the work y'all do and your willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so one comment last to this. In order to help support this, we're going to create another committee to help lead and guide through this. And then certainly that would be one of the report outs for this meeting. So look for that in the coming month to 2 months to get more information. Damon. There you are.
Good morning, everybody. Well, first off, I'm going to say whoever did the thank you for putting me behind the positive momentum coming from the negative about the payment system. I do want to say, you've already heard it a couple of times, but I would be remiss to say that when we start talking about the high demand list, this was a very high collaboration between the Governor's Office of Student Achievement, Becky Lumberg and her team, as well as us at TCSG, Stephen Wilson, our Executive Director for Workforce Data. And if you ever thought that state agencies can't work together, let this be a testament that they can. And so, you know, I was so happy to see this barrier removed and for us to be able to move forward. So a lot of my talking points, Ian did a great job and told you the reasons of why the high demand list. So I'm not going to go back through those. So let's get into the how. And it's a refresher. It's nothing that you haven't seen before, but given, I'm going to use Ian's words, now that you're in the thick of it, we just want to make sure that we refresh how did the high demand career list get generated? How is it going to be generated on an annual basis? So as we look at it, we started off with a standard occupational code, the full list of around 790 something codes. And we started looking at it to say, how many have a positive job growth in the next 10 years? So the way that we make sure that we go to 12 years as the top state for business and 13 and so forth is by trying to stay ahead of the trend, right? Making sure that the transparency is there for individuals to know what kind of occupations will be in demand. So that way they can start training, getting in that pipeline now. So we look at that positive job growth. We look at the average annual openings across that 10 years to say what kind of annual openings will there be for these jobs. Then we look at a wage requirement, and I won't go through all the details, they're all here, and you'll have it in your copy. But we look at living wages to look at, we did a standard of 2 working adults and 1 child. So as of right now, it's at 43,000 for that. And so we looked at that to say, is this job, is this occupation going to get somebody at or above that median annual wage? Because we weren't interested, and per the governor's direction, we weren't interested in having an occupation list that was full of fast food workers, hospitality, things that are good. There are certainly things that we need to be able to drive our state forward, but these are ones, occupations that people have a long-standing, self-sustaining career behind it. Then we also looked at those that needed on-the-job training to be able to make sure we included those in there as well for those that had a moderate or high on-the-job training. And as we kind of go through there, this is restating a lot of that, but I wanted to pull this one up because of the public good. So we also have another category of public good, which are those occupations that help us to move forward as a society. Police officers, firefighters, teachers, things that unfortunately don't always meet that criteria that we previously talked about. They may not be high demand growth. They may not be above the wage limit. Those things that establish this listing. So this public good is looked at to say what are those occupations that would be able to benefit society as a whole, Georgia as a whole. It also is going to maintain some of the occupations that might be on the governor's initiative list, things that the governor is pushing forward that may not be showing up there yet. There's things that are not on the list that we've talked about before with like EV, electric vehicles, because electric vehicle does not have a SOC code right now. That SOC code is actually just put in with every other manufacturing, automotive manufacturing career. So as such, unfortunately right now, it doesn't split it out. So public good is there to be able to make sure that we. The last part is I just want to show you all the things that we just talked about. So we started off with about 797 occupations. We filtered it down to 586 after the positive job growth, filtered down to 347 when we look at the annual job openings, filtered down at least 75% of state median wage to 296, and then those that required some type of credential that was above high school, that brings it down to 242. That's what the list is that you guys approved back in December of 24. That's how we get to this number. This is the same thing that we'll be doing in year upcoming. I think maybe about another 4 or 5 months. I think, Jackie, we'll start pulling the data to start evaluating, so that way we can get that in front of everybody to be able to move forward. So again, mine's just a refresher, which means that you get to hear briefly from me. That makes things nice because you can move on to the agenda. So, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about a how-to-man career. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Adam Hawk. He'll bring us the Apprentice Georgia Spotlight.
All right, good morning, everyone. So I'm going to try to keep up the positive momentum with things that are going on with apprenticeships, and then show a video at the end that is upbeat kind of emotional video as well. So just want to give some numbers here for an overview. Apprentice Georgia serves as the largest network of apprenticeship sponsors throughout the state. So all 22 colleges serve as sponsors for apprenticeships. We've got close to 650 active apprentices right now, over 170 active employers that we're working with. Over the last about 3 years, we've worked with about 300 or so employers. These are just the ones that currently have apprentices that are employed there. Over 100 occupations that the apprentices can go into that are offered by the school. And then 38% wage increase for our apprentices from the beginning wage until the ending wage. So just kind of wanted to put down some of those statistics for you. Thing I did want to update on was some legislation update. So I'll give a little bit of background on the program. The program is the How to Man Apprenticeship Program, signed into law in 2022 by the governor. It's the first ever state-funded apprenticeship initiative, and what it does is it provides funds to employers to start and expand registered apprenticeship programs throughout the state. So that was in 2022. We had some adjustments to the legislation in 24 last July, which added a public service component to it. So they carved out some money specifically for our public sector, so cities, counties, states that are employers in apprenticeship programs. What I want to talk about here is the update legislation that got signed April 28th, so just last month, and Senate Bill 180. What it did was expand the program and the potential awardees to registered apprenticeship sponsors, not only employees. So it expands out who can apply to be an awardee of the program. So not only employers, but going out to the sponsors as well. So we'll have our application period that will open up at the beginning of the next fiscal year, sometime in July or August, to where then we'll start the new application process for the program.
And good, real quick, just a kind of reminder, like Adam's talking about, a lot of our WIOA Title I money goes toward the training of apprenticeships. This initiative went toward the augmentation of what the cost on employers are. So what this money was is a little $1.275 million put into the state budget and state appropriations, of which this body and the state board of TCSG approves anyone who is awarded money to help on the employer side cost. A couple of changes. It went from 10,000 apprentice to 5,000 apprentice, expanded, as Adam said, to public service as well. And this year expanded to sponsors. The one big thing reason I go through all that is to say we have done the expansion, but the monies are still the same. And so as we continue to expand who's eligible for that money, the $1.275 million is still the same amount that this board and TCSG board will be approving as far as to go out and support that effort.
So I did want to touch on a little bit more on the public service component. Mentioned it specifically for local areas, cities, counties, as employers. In our first round, which was in January, that we had the applications. And you can see the trending occupations. So looking at public safety, corrections, EMTs, events, fire departments that provide those services. And then teachers were a big one, and a big part of that was because Education became a sponsor themselves and are helping local rural area school districts to start teacher apprenticeship programs. So they received a grant, the ABA grant, Apprenticeships Building America grant, and that's what they're doing is doing teacher apprenticeships in the rural areas. And so we're kind of working with them. And so we saw a lot of those school districts to help offset some of those costs apply for the. And just some outreach efforts I wanted to point out. Chris mentioned most of them. The first couple of them, ACCG and GMA, that's the county commissioners and city council members. So we were doing outreach there, presenting in front of them. Rapids training, we go around to the different colleges. We've been to Athens, Americus, we'll be in Savannah in June. And then Chris mentioned in Valdosta, so that was specifically for employers and stakeholders, working with them to build apprenticeship programs, mainly in agriculture in those areas. And then presented at the Goal and Leadership Summit, the TCSG Goal and Leadership Summit, and that was National Apprenticeship Day, which was April 30th. And that we showed a video, and I want to show it to you now. It works, so we'll check it out and see.
When it comes to registered apprenticeships, people often ask, why should I do it? Or why should my business? Let's get some subject matter experts to answer that.
I recommend an apprenticeship program just because it really gets your foot in the door for like whatever you like doing, whatever you love doing. really helps you build a second family.
My job is to perform plant rounds, where I go around and ensure that everything is in good operating condition. This includes measuring pressures upstream and downstream, as well as the temperatures of everything, including cooling water, lube oil, and air systems within the plant.
In Thomas County, we found a very special and unique way to partner up between the college and the emergency services to address that significant need for emergency services. It's so significant to watch these trainees and these recruits going from a job to an actual career.
And I was like, well, let's go. I'm ready. I've been ready for this opportunity, and now here it comes.
Those opportunities are for apprentices and businesses alike. There are nearly 3,000 possible occupations. The trade industries, healthcare, robotics, cybersecurity, AI, education, and many, many more. For the apprentices, paid education and training that leads to portable, nationally recognized credentials. Students earn while they learn. More money, plus mentoring and career advancement. And for the businesses, highly skilled employees trained with your organization in mind. Improved levels of employee retention, higher productivity, and a more diverse workforce. The TCSG and its 22 colleges serve as the state's largest network of registered apprenticeship sponsors. Remember, apprentices earn more, learn more, and advance more. It's a win-win for employees and employers alike. The Apprentice Georgia team is here to help you and your partners get started. Just scan the QR code here or email us at apprenticeship@tcsg.edu. Thanks for your attention.
I don't want to give away our secrets, but if you recognize that voice. So very impressive.
Questions? Only thing I'll add again, Adam, is it really is a great video and real proud. Aviana that was in there that was talking about the plant, she was walking around checking the plant. She's working for Oglethorpe Power. Oglethorpe Power had jumped in that first round of apprenticeship opportunity to be supported by the state through that state-funded opportunity we just mentioned, the $1.275 million. They've now expanded beyond that because of that success. She was a dual enrollment student, if my memory serves me right, who they envisioned one day she'll be running a plant for them. That's how successful that one apprenticeship was and how it opened doors for them to really expand that. I can't remember how many they said they're doing now, but it's a ton. So really exciting to see this work.
And the employer engages with the local TCSG
So yeah.
school, or they go to the TCSG themselves? How do they start that?
Yeah, we open the system office. Have an employee that's interested in starting an apprenticeship program, then we have a program development team that can help them there. Most of the time, what we're going to do is connect them to that local college there, because they should have an apprenticeship coordinator there that can work with them to go through the process. So each one of the colleges separately are sponsors, so they're the ones doing the paperwork and sending it up to the U.S. Department of Labor. It comes through us at my team at the system office we go hand in hand with them.
Ray, in fairness though, I do want to be clear, all 22 of our colleges are sponsors, but there's other sponsors across the state. So you don't have to go through one of our colleges.
Okay. Yeah, and that was part of my question. And then, just so I understand, it's a $5,000 or $10,000 sort of offset. It's $5,000 until the 1.2 is gone.
So we open up an application process for you to apply. Those applications are reviewed to expend the $1.2 million. Once they've been reviewed by the team, they present it to the state board for approval. So yes.
It's $5,000 per apprentice, but it's capped at 10 apprentices per employer or sponsor now.
Yeah. Thanks.
But to your point, yeah, and if an employer comes to us and says, I want to start a program, but I want to be my own sponsor, then we'll work with them to do that as well at the system office.
Anything else? Great, thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the employment virtual kiosk. Wait, Cheryl. Update.
Good afternoon, or good morning / afternoon. Okay, so I
No, it was probably about a year ago. We presented on EVA, and we kind of gave you a demo of what it looked like, and we have been implementing these throughout the state. So now we're back to tell you a little bit more about where we are with that project. So we currently have 6 locations, and we are going to be adding another one. West Georgia Tech will be next week. We'll be adding that one in. So we've been looking at all these different locations, monitoring some of the foot traffic, looking at add additional kiosks throughout the state, looking at some areas within the state where maybe the individual has to drive a good ways to get to a career center to get services from us and would like to have an easier way to connect. We've looked at community centers. I've got some individuals who operate different programs in some community centers throughout the state, and so we're connecting with them to try to implement where else we could put these kiosks. So that is coming soon. And then also you'll see the little EVA character. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Cheryl's going to show you a little bit more about that in our marketing. So as we looked at this, we've also surveyed customers who utilize the kiosks as well as staff. We've had a year to kind of work out all the little kinks, and now we are looking at expanding this throughout. One of the overarching items that we realized when we surveyed the customers is that they can find that it is easy to use. So we have a tabletop banner, and a person comes up to where these are set up, and it tells them, just touch the screen and hit join. And so that is an easy way for them. One thing that's helped us is word of mouth marketing. So ARC is one of the locations that we have in Rockdale, and we've had a lot of good foot traffic to that one based on marketing. We are now going to expand our marketing, which is where Cheryl will come in to talk about that. Staff, they indicated that, of course, it was easy to use. They felt like having the virtual meeting, because, before we had this, people were connecting with us virtually via the phone. Right, they really couldn't see us. And sometimes there's difficulties when you're trying to walk them through the portal. This is an easier way because we can share our screen. It's almost like they're right in front of us. And so we found that from the customer's perspective, they actually prefer this option and actually like being able to see who they're talking to, right? And be able to see the screens and things that we're doing on our side. And so as a result, we've been able to accomplish a lot with it as far as helping people with their resumes, letting them get the registration completed that they need to do in order to get there, and we've been able to share content with them virtually. Now I'm going to let Cheryl talk to you a little bit about marketing, because this is one of the things that we're finding as we've expanded the project, that marketing is going to be really key to getting the word out for these individuals on where this is to increase our foot traffic.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. And Rhonda is going to help me with the technology stuff. So I only have one slide. As she was talking about, she talked about the why, and, we need to reach more potential, employees. They need to judge us. And EVA is an easy, friendly, approachable way for people to go to a private, comfortable area, have direct interaction with someone who knows how to help them. I mean, in the bottom line, what we're doing is connecting employers to employees, right? We want to keep that number one state to do business. We're gonna keep doing what we can to continue that. So part of the how is, as Rhonda was talking about, we're reintroducing, relaunching the employment virtual agent. So she's been around. I keep calling her she. She's been around for a while, but we wanted to make her more approachable. So what we're doing is, as she had mentioned, the tabletop banners. For instance, where EVA location kiosks are located, there are those, small pull-up tabletop banners with very simple instructions. So we're going to have her on there. And where's Tyler? He's right there. He designed her. He literally did a sketch within an hour, and then we tweaked it, and it was amazing. So thank you, Tyler. And so we're going to update these tabletop banners. It's like before you get started, scan this QR code, and before you scroll up and meet someone. So this is a little introduction video that we'll show you. So it's the tabletop banners. We're going to update some signage because we want people to know what they're getting into and where to find these, right? We'll do some organic, social media and digital outreach type of things. Also some paid, but not a whole heck of a lot, because honestly, word of mouth is what's going to get this rocking and rolling. And with the social media aspect, we'll do customized hashtags for EVA. We're going to also incorporate, some kind of, evergreen messages, don't forget, make sure your resume is updated, or dress for the job you want, or, remember to show up early and bring a copy of your resume with you, that kind of thing. And then I'll go back to the press releases. Excuse me. Once we get, a little bit further down the road with the signage and the visualization of it, then we're going to send press releases across the state in strategic areas where the EVA locations are, and the way it's going, that's really spreading out quickly. Just a couple months ago, we had 4. So, this is really, and our IT folks have been phenomenal about setting these things up. And they're in places where we need the traffic and folks need jobs. And so they want to have an easier way to do that. So without further ado, we're going to kind of reintroduce you to EVA. And this is what folks will do when they scan the QR code. And we have our own YouTube channel now, so we'll share that video with you guys on how to do it. Just learned about
My name is Eva, short for Employment Virtual Agent. I'm the most digitized and, I think, coolest member of the WorkSource Georgia team. I'm also your connection to employment and recruitment services in the Peach State. So, before you get started on a kiosk interacting with a real human being, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what to expect and how WorkSource Georgia can help you succeed. The WorkSource Georgia portal is a one-stop shop for employers and job seekers. To get started, our team members will help you register for an account in the portal. We'll fill in information about you, your address, education level, and that kind of thing. Don't worry, this portal is secure and your private information will stay private. We'll see if you have a current resume to upload. But if you don't worry, we can help with that as well. Then we'll set up your filters. What kind of job are you looking for? How far away from your home are you comfortable commuting? Pay scale, experience level, and so on. Then we search and provide a list of options. You can set up your own bot, kind of like me, to send notifications. There's even an assessment tool that helps connect you to employers who are in need of skills you bring to the table. We also have an interest analyzer to help focus the search even more. Now keep in mind, companies have their own profiles and check this portal regularly so they can find the perfect fit for their teams. It's easy. Remember, WorkSource Georgia is here to connect you to your next opportunity. So bye for now. I'll see you online and on WorkSource Georgia's social media channels.
So we talked a little bit about, the when as far as thinking about,
So you want to buy a house using your VA benefit, but you have no idea where to start. Well, here's the good news. I'm Jennifer Beeston.
Jennifer. So you talked a little bit about the when as far as, putting the kiosks in locations and whatnot. And as far as the when on my side, as far as the plan is concerned, that is, we get the signage designed and ordered and a lot of it in place, and then we'll be reaching out, hopefully get some media coverage within, I'm saying, a month, 6 weeks, give or take. We're around that ballpark. So does anybody have any questions for us?
Guess you're the voice of EVA.
That was Andrea. I was like, he made me sound like a friendly robot. Stand you up. And she goes, I slowed it down, but you sounded a little demonic. So let's go faster, Lance.
Cheryl, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm struggling to understand why we need kiosks for this. Wouldn't it be available on any web-based computer?
You can set up WebEx meetings, but we find too with customers, first of all, integrating that and then getting on a computer and us calling them and saying, now I can email you a link to WebEx and connecting. Now, later on, we are looking into how we can also do this through the portal and how we can connect WebEx through there directly. On our portal, we have chat. You get on there and chat, and we can send them a link through there as well on chat for the WebEx. And I know we've all kind of utilized WebEx. Sometimes we struggle a little bit when we're clicking on it. It's like, it's not opening, it's going in another way. You know, it's all over the place. And for your Joe coming into it, it is just so much easier to just walk up to the kiosk, hit the button and hit join, and the staff are already there. And we're able to connect them to partners as well. So like, let's say we have our Jobs for Veterans State Grant. We can send a link to them and then they can immediately connect and we can private rooms within the meet and they can meet and then be going back into the meet again.
Another thing I wanted to comment was that not all of our customers have broadband access, right? You know, and so if they don't, and they're in a career center for their job hunting, or they're working on their UI benefits, it's an opportunity for us to, you know, increase our footprint, put staff virtually in career centers where there may be Georgia Department of Labor centers where there may be maybe not a high amount of foot traffic. So having a staff person there isn't the most efficient thing, but this creates a great opportunity because they're going to be directly served. Also, we're looking at expanding to other partners in the technical colleges, public libraries, vector centers, any place where we see individuals who have needs, who have employment needs, we can connect them that way right there. If they're there, the partner can say, hey, you need a job? These folks can help. Just go in there and press that button.
Karen, do you have some sort of recursive analysis scheduled for later to say these were used appropriately and that's where, yeah?
Yeah. As we were, as we've been working towards all of our strategic planning goals, we have a whole series of goals specifically around the deployment of the kiosks, the utilization of the kiosks, the effectiveness of the kiosks. So there's customer surveys, you name it, just how broadly are they going to be used? We've already put one in one location and decided, yeah, we need to move it to another location. So we're in that process. We had a meeting last week. Our hope is with another partner. Rhonda mentioned the Jobs for Veterans State Grant is an internal partner, right? I mean, it's a partner grant within our agency that we own. So, those individuals, we've already got that set up. But looking at other, working with our local workforce development area partners where an individual may qualify for Title III services, but we see that, hey, you actually might qualify or be eligible for Title I services, be able to do a warm virtual handoff that way, or for perhaps UI or any number of other things like that.
Aaron, and these are only set up for this EVA use. Someone can't just come in and start searching the web on it.
Right.
So I think that's part of it.
Right.
Too.
It's a Cisco WebEx desktop that just specifically is like for that purpose.
Pretty much just like a big monitor, just with their keyboard and just touch it and rely on that for stuff like that. Yes. Home screen stuff like that.
It has the capability of signature capture. So, staff can walk an individual from beginning to end through the entire application process, obtain the documentation that they need, and kind of one-stop shop that way.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Everything just said, I've said a lot today, I apologize. But one last thing, we've been very blessed to have our new Labor Commissioner, Barbara Rivera Holmes. She's been excellent to work with. She's been over and met with my team. We've already had a lot of coordination. I think when you look at the EVA and why the EVA is because we only have brick and mortar so far, and some of those bricks and mortars are not serving jointly. And I think this will actually just enhance that partnership. But I just want to share with this group because she's a big component of workforce, and it's just been a blessing as she's come on board to see how she's collaborating. So I just thought that was important to share to this board.
Absolutely. Anyone else? We'll have lunch brought in back here for those who participate, Georgia Power. Again, thank you for your assistance in setting us up here. There is a tour of the Experience Center for those that signed up for lunch. Next, State Workforce Development Board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 21st. Location TBD.
We're looking at Albany, so all the areas.
That, I just want to say, that the Albany location is to allow us to see the Albany Tech, Phoebe Putney joint venture on the Live and Learn training facility down there. It's pretty impressive if you haven't had the opportunity to see it. So I would encourage everybody to.
Put the show on the road. All right. Hearing no other issues, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody like to oppose? All right, the meeting is adjourned again. Thank you for your attendance today. Need all your assistance.